let me put, and see here. I have, okay, can I please, we're going to call the meeting to order. It's now 1 p.m. on April 20th, 2020. I'm going to need I'm going to need somebody to do the flag salute because it's on the agenda. So can I have, Tristan, do you want to join us on the flag salute, please? Tristan, you hear me? She can't.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Margo, would you give it? You can.
I'm going to
Okay,
stand for the flag salute. I feel like that's the best way to do it. So,
okay.
everybody put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation under God,
indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Invisible. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for that. May I please have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
I move to approve.
So moved.
Okay, Mrs. Marcus. Now, Mr. Margo, would you like to second that?
Sure.
Thank you.
Second.
I just have to take notes here for Pam, so just bear with me. Okay. So we have one letter that Rebecca received for public comment, and did you all receive that letter, or was that sent to everybody, Rebecca, or just to me?
Just to you. I didn't get it.
I didn't do it.
So to the Beverly Hills Board of Education, Dr. Breggy, thank you for your time and efforts in support of the Beverly Hills High School class of 2020. We know there are a lot of moving parts and many groups brainstorming to make this graduation as memorable as possible. A lot of parents have asked about the survey. It looked like it came from Beverly Hills High School students, but it did not. It came from the district office. This in turn also brought forth questions about the video itself. Please see below and let us know if you can help clarify. 1, what are student survey results for Beverly Hills High School? We have 360 seniors. How many actually responded? 2, what does ASB think about the survey? 3, what if not all seniors want to participate? 4, for the video, how are seniors getting cap and gown and tassel ahead of the video production to actually shoot their individual parts? 5, the contract states production will end at the end of June. However, the contract also states that seniors will sit around their TV morning on June 4th and watch their graduation from their respective homes. This is causing confusion when the district is still saying graduation is not canceled. 6, the production company is charging $3,000 for a montage, part of the $31,000. Is this montage available for the senior sunset? It's an annual tradition usually created by the PTSA Senior Committee. 7, the PTA Senior Committee would like to activate a car parade on Thursday, the date of graduation, for the seniors to physically wear their cap and gown and receive their diploma from Mr. Mead. Conversations have already begun with the city, and we'd love to work together to make this happen. Can we schedule a meeting to discuss? Thank you for your time and response to Beverly Hills High School senior parent community. And it's signed by Janine Raymer and Melissa Stein, Beverly Hills High School PTSA president co-chairs. Okay, so now let me get out of here. So that concludes our public comment, correct? Is that correct, Rebecca? Is there anything else? No? Okay. We're now going to move on to professional and official business. May I please have a motion to approve that agenda item, please?
Sure. I'll make a motion for the approval of items 4A and 4B, the agreements with vendor services for the middle school and the high school digital graduation video.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Margo. So we'll take number A first, because I think those have to be voted on separately. And then we'll just continue on to B or B. Okay, all those in favor can I'm going to do a roll call, of course, because it's difficult this way. Oh, yes, we are having discussion first. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Thank you.
And
Okay,
and
let's go.
I also have some information to share too, if that's some updated data information about the survey. So I'm happy to do that whenever you
Right.
want.
So you sent us a survey, and I would assume this is the survey that they're talking about, correct?
It is. So that was as of yesterday. So some of the percentages changed a little bit, but not in any big degree. But I was prepared to share with you on my screen if you'd like to see any change in the data. If not, it's not required to show.
Okay, so if you have anything else, Dr. Briggy, you'd like to share with the board, I think what we can do is we can circle around the table, or not the table physically, but the screen, and then we will, you can jump in if you feel like you need to answer any questions from any board member. So we're discussing. Yes, please.
Before the conversation starts. So, the impetus of this came from that, the district administration and board work with the site staff to provide the ceremony. And since, we weren't really sure what was going to happen with the ceremony, whether it was canceled, whether it was going to be postponed, that we wanted to have something special for this group of seniors and eighth graders, because they've missed out on such a big portion of the celebration. So this was, the video was always in addition to something. And so it's just important to know that this was never supposed to take the place of anything. It was that because we had to start the work early, we really wanted our seniors and our eighth graders to have something that they could keep, something special. To this date, we still haven't canceled the graduation, or we haven't postponed it, but that's why the survey went out, just so that we could get an idea of what our students were what they wanted, and in what they'd be willing to wait for if it was postponed. The actual contract and the proposal, those are things that can be changed. So not everything in there has to happen exactly like it is. This is a group that's willing to personalize for us, provide information for us. Things don't have to be delivered exactly the same way at the same time. It's still up for discussion. These were ideas that could be tweaked, and we were choosing a company that we knew that we're already working with, that was flexible, so that as time went on, we could interject some new ideas and transfer out some ones that weren't working because of the logistics. So I just want people to know that it's a very flexible, a flexible program, and that's just important for you to know.
I just want to have a point of clarification before we go around. Noah, you made a motion. I heard A and B. Is that correct? Or did you just motion for A?
Yeah, no, I made the motion for both, and it was seconded. So.
Okay, because A is the survey and B is, so I wasn't sure if that's what you, I just realized.
A was middle school, B was the high school.
Because I have A as graduation survey results from Beverly Hills High School and BVMS on Sunday. That's just a discussion item, I guess. And then B is set as approval of agreement for vendor services for BVMS, and then C is the high school. So I just wanted to clarify that. So if anyone has any questions about the survey, now's the time, and then we'll go to Beverly Vista, and I'll need another motion for C. Before C.
So let me ask, because I'm looking at the posted agenda online.
Yeah,
I am too.
And is there something different that I don't have?
I mean, I'm looking at it under 4. It says 4A graduation survey results. So those are, I guess those are just posted,
Okay,
Dr. Breggy?
I don't have.
Yeah, that's
Is that a different agenda?
the agenda that
Yeah,
Pam sent only had A and B, and it was only the agreement for approval. Pam,
So I'm looking on what's online. I went on, I just pulled up what's online because I was having trouble pulling up Pam's, if you recall. So I'm looking at BHUSD agenda online. This is this was posted today. I mean, this is what's out there. So I think what they did is they added the results of the survey because that wasn't on last night.
They did because we wanted that to be public, but I also wanted to make sure that every board member was able to see it first before that went public.
Right.
But the actual agenda item reads that A is the approval for the agreement for vendor services for the middle school is A, and B is the high school. And what you're seeing underneath is what's attached, as far as the
Right.
The information. But the actual approval,
I totally agree with you all. I'm just telling you what I'm looking at. It says A, professional services, and under A, it says graduation survey results. And it's got like the attachment. And I'm looking at 4B, approval agreement for vendor services for Houghton and Company BVMS digital graduation video. And then there's a C, and then it has the high school. It's the same thing. So it changed a little bit from yesterday. So I'm going by, I think we should go by what's listed publicly. So I just need you to modify that, Noah, B and C, or I guess it doesn't matter. We'll move on to B if you're ready, and then I'll have another person give me another. Let's move on.
Why don't we do this? Why don't I withdraw the motion and remake the motion without the Roman numerals, and we'll just move to approve for the agreement of both contracts.
I'll second for both
Okay.
of those.
Okay, great. That's all, guys. I just want to be clear. It's a little bit crazy.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I never.
So Noah,
I guess
let's
you're
go.
at the public view. I never look. Let's go. I don't see any result of the survey, by the way. Was that posted on this somewhere that I'm not looking at? Because I don't see any attachments. Michael, is there
on
something that
public.
has those numbers?
So
It's on the public view?
Well, it was sent. I sent the survey to the board yesterday. Like, let's see what time. Yesterday afternoon. Did you get that?
No, I didn't get that, and I saw your emails. I could go back and check unless you just want to summarize. Just summarize the survey for me. I apologize, colleagues. I just don't have that information.
Yeah, I can do that. It's in the same email as the contracts that I sent. So let me just.
Oh, okay.
Let me just.
I got that email.
Let me just share with you the update. This is going to be a little different from your presentation because Rebecca was just ready. She just pulled the latest survey information. So this is the high school. So this is exactly what's in the presentation, just it's updated. So there are, according to Aries, there's 321 seniors, according to our Aries system. And we have 197 responses here from our seniors. So can everybody see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, thank you. So you can see here that, in this graph, 70% of our students were preferring both. They want a video and they want to postpone graduation. The red is 25%. That's postpone graduation and no video. And then the blue is looks like it's about 5%, and that is a video and no graduation. This question, would you come back for a postponed graduation if it was not held on June 4th, which is currently the date? And 94% of the students said that they would come back if we postpone graduation, if it was not on the 4th. If you would, what's the latest date that you would return for a physical graduation in 2020? And you could see that the 78% of the students said that they would return if it was before July 31st. And then you can see the orange is about 4%. And that is if the graduation was before July 24th. and July 17th, if it's before the 12% before July 17th. So you can see that overwhelmingly students are wanting to postpone graduation if it were at all possible. And again, that's the $1 million question. If we're going to be able to, have that. This response, this question, if due to COVID-19, postponing graduation is not an option, would you come back for graduation in June of 2021? We just asked the question. Several people were asking the question, and you could see that 57% at this time said that they would. Then this was all open-ended. We just wanted to know from our students this is their graduation. And so we wanted to know from them what ideas that they would have in place. And we'll give you an updated version of this. But it's very much like the survey results that I sent yesterday. And then I also have the same thing for BVMS, which I can go over later, or we can keep it separate for now. I'll just kind of run through some of these for you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Breggy. Was BVMS similar numbers?
It was very similar to what I sent, but I can just show you really quickly since I have it up.
You don't have to show me. I just wanted to know if it's kind of in line where most people are supporting both.
I mean, it's yes. It's very similar in that regard. Yes. Yeah. And and
good.
You have it.
So. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I've heard a lot from a lot of people about this. I think having the video as a backup is a great thing to do. Like we said, the board has not and will not cancel graduation unless the state dictates it. And I don't know when we'll know that. I know from contacts I've spoken to at the hospital, we haven't even peaked yet in LA. So according to the 3-phase federal reopening plan, we are a minimum of 6 weeks away, and we haven't even peaked. So we are probably more than 6 weeks away from being able to have any gathering, any social gathering, let alone gatherings of thousands of people. So when people start to understand that, they can get a better look at what the district is going to have to do to hopefully memorialize the graduate or the senior year for these kids. I think the video is right now pretty much the only option that makes sense, being the direction that the state is headed with this. But obviously that's out of our control. I will always support letting these kids graduate, and I'll even entertain certain ideas if they should come to fruition, if they should be allowed, I should say, to come to fruition. But of course, that's up to the site administrators and the site. Thanks.
Mel?
Yeah.
You know what? Did I skip Tom? I'm sorry. Is Thomas Recupero with us? He is.
Yes.
Thomas, I totally want to apologize. I skipped you. Is it okay, Mel, if we go to Thomas first?
I would love you to.
Thank you. Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add on. I think Mr. Margot really touched on it. I mean, we only have data really showing when social distancing ends up until June or mid-May, so it's very hard to predict beyond that. So I think a video keepsake memento is a great, start. We're making progress to whatever we're going to provide to our seniors, and I think that's a great start. And I mean, this is not the end of the discussion for senior events and graduation. This is just the beginning, and we would love input from PTSA and everyone to come together and even decide on more events, whether that's a car graduation meetup or other ideas. But I think this is a good start. The district is willing to do this. We're all on board with it. I mean, it seems like we are. So I'm happy with the video.
Thank you, Thomas. Mel.
Yes, I agree with all that Noah and Tom have said. I think that I think we're limited in options, and I think that this makes a lot of sense under the circumstances. One responsibility that the board has, of course, is the expenditure of funds. And I have looked at the budget for each of these videos. I've looked at the breakdown. It all seems reasonable to me. So I approve of that. Just a couple of remarks as to the scheduling, and I did hear Dr. Breggy say that the scheduling is yet to be finalized, and that's good because first of all, in the schedule for Beverly Vista Middle School, I noticed that there's no time limit for Mr. Margot's speech whatsoever, and I'm going to suggest that there be a 2-hour limit on that. On the other hand, since we're talking about, I think we're talking about both videos under this motion, and so I also want to mention this about the high school schedule. Historically, the Board of Education president's speech has been a highlight of the ceremony historically. That's not to say that it should be over long, but I did notice that in the schedule, looks like Mrs. Hacker is limited to 1 minute, including an introduction. And I kind of think that might be a little tight. I know I wouldn't get over stuttering within 1 minute, so I'm going to suggest that that be reviewed. I wonder who made that decision, by the way.
So I can answer that. So again, this was created so that it wasn't, we weren't going in with that it's replacing everyone's speech, it was just kind of a condensed version. But of course, we want to keep everyone's interest level, and it's going to get long because we're in this particular case, students will be sending in videos, and they're going to be in there. We're just trying to limit it so that it's not a 3-hour episode, but it's super flexible. So I mean, it was just a guide. It was a guide, a framework to work with. But all the times, those are adjustable. That's up to us.
Good enough. That's all I have.
So it sounds like a good solution. The only real concern that I have is about the expenses. I mean, we've earmarked money for graduation, and we're saying that this is potentially in addition to graduation, with the hopes of being able to have a physical graduation at some point between, whenever the social distancing orders are lifted and July 31st, which is great that we're narrowing in on a time frame. But this is like 43,000 or almost 46,000, right? For both of these videos. So if we're talking about doing this in addition to the expense of graduation, I just want to know, where is this money coming from? I think, if we're looking down into the future with the economic impact on revenue for the state, that this is going to be a very real concern and something we should start thinking about now, so that we're not caught on the short end of the financial stick down the road. So I'm not against doing a video. I think it'd be great to do something creative. I just wonder, with the money that we have allocated for graduation, how far are we going over that with something like this if we actually end up having a physical graduation of some sort, even if it's bona fide? And I guess that goes into kind of, what's the bulk of that expense? Is it the stands? And if we have a modified version of graduation, do we not have the stands so we don't have that expense? I just would want more information. What I don't want to end up doing is approving this and then also having a graduation where we're out of pocket for all of what's been allocated in that budget, and then we're caught short for other things in the fall. So I want to do what we can to the extent that we make it special for students and make it memorable, and obviously follow the guidelines and public health concerns. I just don't want to find ourselves in a hole. That's all, really. I'm sure about the editing and the flow of how everything's going to go. They'll determine that. They do it professionally, and I'm sure it'll be lovely.
Okay, Mrs. Marquez, your turn. Thank you.
I want to echo Mrs. Walker-Schumann's comments. I too have that concern, and I wanted to ask a question. Should we go ahead with the contracts for this Huntoon and Company, or whatever it's, I think that's the name of it.
Yep.
And then we find out that we can have a graduation. I was curious to know, we're going to spend the money on the, how far into the video that we're making can we cut back on it so it doesn't cost so much money once we're into it? Is there ways of that, sometime amending it a little bit or changing it? And then the other question is that if we were to have a traditional graduation as we have in the past, do we know how much that would have cost and how much the ceremony would have cost us, and how was it funded in the past? Do we have an answer for that? That's a couple before I go into discussion.
So, and I don't have all of the details. I know that Wade is handling a family issue right now. And I don't have the exact figures to that. I know that the stands alone for the high school are $28,000. But I think that it's safe. It's safe to just share with you that that the plan was that because we want to have a celebration for our seniors, and if again, it just so much depends on the postponing if possible. But if that's not going to be possible, then there's a lot that's kind of left in between then, because time is of the essence. So the kind of the worst case scenario financially would be that it would, if we were able to have and hold a graduation with all those expenses, this would be on top of those expenses. And so through our budgeting process, through money that's left over from, we know that we could scramble that up and have that money available. But it would be, to be fair, it would be on top of those expenses. And then of course, if graduation was modified in any way, shape, or form, however creative that ceremony might turn out to be, you start taking off pieces like, just the risers, and then that pays for the video. So it's a very difficult thing, because this isn't in lieu of anything. We have to kind of go in with it. I think, to be fair, I think we have to go in with the fact that we haven't canceled graduation, and that financially, this would be on top of what those fees are. It's a little bit different at the K-8, because I know that there was some Measure E money that was used because we didn't have auditoriums. So that changed that up a little bit. So that it's not going to be as expensive for our middle school as it was before with the 4 different schools. But again, it's, the amount for the middle school video would be on top of what we're planning right now.
So thank you for that. I feel the only thing that I feel like I'm being somewhat coerced in a way, because we're being told that we must get this company, otherwise we won't have anybody that would be able to do it, and so on. And so this is the one we have to pick, and I feel like I'm being coerced into voting for this because it's the only one. I am not sure about that. I don't know whether there was any other company that could have done it. I also wondered about our own tech, our own group at the high school under the direction of Romeo Carey, how much they could have done. I had that, I don't know. I'm just saying, these are just thoughts that I had, because I feel I
can answer the Mrs. Marcus. I can answer the Mr. Carey and KBEV. That department is prided on the fact that it's run by students, and so with social distancing, and we would be putting our students in a safety concern if they were to help. And the logistics behind this it's so big that it's work has to start. It does need to start right away because of the logistics that are involved. And this is just our suggestion. I mean, so I don't want anyone to feel coerced in any way. That is really that's hard for me to hear, because I don't ever want to be part of a team our intentions were that we wanted our senior students, and after, I have a niece that's also graduating from another school district, and she is beat up every single day over this. And so I know that across the country, that school districts are trying to provide not just an alternative, but something in addition, because of so many of the activities that were lost in just the day-to-day interaction. So I don't want anyone to feel that way. I mean, we can throw less money at a template, but it wouldn't have the quality that in looking through this proposal, it just wouldn't have the quality that this particular team has. But that's a very strong word. And I don't want to be, I don't want to put you or any other board members in that position.
Okay, thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Not sure where you all went. Here we go. Okay, so I just did want to ask those questions, Dr. Breggy, that were asked by the letter that I read. I did not catch some of the things. The June 4th date, I did not see that stipulated in there, but I would imagine it is there if they caught it. I did see the other date, though, that services would have to be completed by, was it June 30th, Dr. Breggy? Is that what the contract reads?
Yeah.
So what are we doing? What is the actual day where, because I know there was like a paragraph that says students will graduate and they'll do this virtually. It doesn't say a date in that paragraph. I'm assuming that's probably the June 4th date.
So let me clarify, because I do understand the confusion. So
thank you.
So all of this is done and filmed in advance. The idea was that if graduation, let's say that graduation was postponed, and that we were not going to have it on June 4th because it's too soon to respect any of the social distancing guidelines by the county. There was an idea that, since that was the original date, that could be like the unveiling, or like the this is the like a movie, like a premiere, and that because kids aren't able to see their graduation on that date, that they could all at the same time, even through a Zoom, watch their own movie as kind of a, it's a like an opening day type thing, like it's opening preview to their own movie. That was an idea, was that it could then run at the same time. And again, we may be postponing, or we may get really creative with some of the ideas with graduation, which we're open to those exciting ideas. But it was an idea that this could be like an opening day, because this is when it was originally scheduled. It doesn't mean that it's in place of, and I understand the confusion though, because it could be postponed, and we would still, like, as an idea, kind of have the open, because that was the graduation date, and you could have everybody watching it together as an idea.
And so Noah brought up the point that the CDC or someone's saying that one of the authorities is saying that California won't have its highest peak until 6 weeks from now. Is that so? That would bring us to June 1st, that week, right?
No, I just said they said we haven't peaked
right,
yet.
but I think you said 6 weeks. I wrote 6 weeks.
Well, the federal government plan.
Oh, the federal.
Is 2 weeks, is 6 weeks from that point of where you start decreasing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it would make sense for planning reasons if we were able to convene as a group, that it not be on June 4th, that it be after June 4th. My concern is, if you have this unveiling on the 4th, and then if we're allowed to convene, are people going to want to participate? Because it kind of it's anticlimactic kind of thing. It kind of already, we have speeches, we have diplomas being given. It is a graduation in a way. So I think we have to think about that. Now, how married are we to having the video showcased on the 4th of June? Or is that kind of, there's some flexibility with that?
There's all the flexibility in the world. The main thing, to try to keep, like, because there's lots of ideas. I think the main thing is that to provide our students with something like that resembles a graduation ceremony, from beginning to end, as much as possible, as a keepsake. That's the most important thing. That was an idea. The June 4th was just an idea. There'll be several good ideas out there. It doesn't mean to say that has to be, what the date is.
I just have a question. If we're not trying to make this a graduation, then why does it have to mirror a graduation? We've had, the video that I sent to you guys, the video yearbook that used to be done every year, was really more of like a celebration, a culmination of the end of the year. And it had, clips of students talking. It had clips of sporting events throughout the year, KBEV things, performances. I mean, those things have all been recorded for the 3/4 of the year that we actually did in person. I would say let the video be more of that, a compilation of the reflection of the 3/4 of the year these students were able to have. They can still submit, their own videos and additions. We can still have statements or speeches from whoever in leadership wants, to provide that. But at the end of the day, it should really just be a celebration of the students, and it doesn't have to mirror graduation at all. And that also was delivered in the summer for when I was a student. We would get that in around end of June, mid-July, because they'd have to edit it together with video from the graduation and prom and everything else. So I would love to.
Can I respond to you, Tristan?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, that's fine. I'll just wait.
I know. I mean, I wanted to respond specifically to what you said. The two issues I see is, one, we can absolutely not show the video on June 4th. By June 4th, we should know for sure if we're going to have a postponed graduation this summer. So I wholeheartedly agree with you, Isabel. We should not show that video if we are going to walk, and the video will be a keepsake after the ceremony. I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, that was
Second
my
thing,
point.
Tristan, there's a very good chance that there will not be any graduation. This has to be a graduation backup. It can't just be a yearbook video. I also feel adamant about that, because I don't think we're going to have a gathering at all. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that would be a miracle if that happens at this point, and we are very short on those. So those are my two things to respond to what you said.
But the email that was from the PTSA said some other ideas of how we could execute a graduation without having a big gathering, to make sure that the kids would get their diplomas and be able to wear their caps and gowns. I think that's super creative. I'd love to see something like that if we're not able to gather in the regular format.
And then the video would still allow you to have more of a traditional graduation still, even if you did that. I'm not saying, once again, it's not in lieu of that. We should be prepared that if this were the only thing the kids get to do, it should cover that gamut. That's all.
I think we have another round rather than the kind of dialogue. I can't butt in.
Well, I'm not done yet, but I do understand what Noah was trying to clarify, Mel. And so if I could just finish my thoughts, and then, we definitely will go around again. Okay, Mel, I promise. And thank you. I do understand what Tristan is trying to, she brings in an interesting alternative for a video. But I think that video is, I saw that video. I agree. It did not seem to be a graduation. So I do understand what we're trying to capture here. The video is there in the event that there is no opportunity for us to convene as a group setting at the high school and have a graduation. That's what I think the video accomplishes. We're not saying, I just want to be clear, we're not saying, I don't think I've heard anyone say that we should take that option off the menu if we're not allowed. In other words, we want to have a graduation if we're allowed to have one, and that would probably most likely not be on June 4th. It would probably be afterwards. My third and final comment has to do with this June 4th. I really agree with what Noah just confirmed is that we cannot have this video on June 4th because it's taking away from the opportunity of what happens afterwards. As far as what has been, I just read a little bit of a blur. It's the first time that I hear about this, Dr. Breggy, about a parade. Did you have any conversations with the PTA? Or I know you guys had a meeting, I think, on Friday you mentioned.
No, we didn't have a meeting.
Or Mr. Mead or somebody had a meeting, right?
I heard about I heard about it through an email that I received over the weekend. So, but
Okay.
I mean, look, I think that we have to be ready for. I want to be creative about how we celebrate our seniors. So it's not that
Of course, no, of course. I think these are two different things. I just want to make sure that if we can convene at the high school, I think the idea that is coming up is to try to get the kids together in some form. And this is why they're probably coming up with the idea of the parade, which I think is pretty unique. But it would look awkward that the city's behind it. And I know this is not on the agenda, but just think of the optics, right? We're the school district, these are our graduates. And if the city gets behind it, the police department gets behind it to facilitate this event, and our position is like, well, we already did a video, it's not a favorable position to take. And I'm not saying that's the position we're taking. I hope it won't be. That's something that you all are going to have to decide, because we set policy. We're not in the entertainment industry here of figuring out events. So people ask me all the time, well, why doesn't the board do this? And I think you understand where our hearts are, Dr. Breggy, but you need to kind of be our eyes and ears as this continues, right?
Yeah, I just want to point out though that while the board would be there to approve or not approve the expenses, I just want you to keep in mind too that the actual awarding of a diploma, the actual that it's an approval from the Board of Education. So the ceremony, the actual ceremony, is a function of the Board of Education, because they approve each and every individual student's name as being approved of the curriculum at BHUSD. So it's a little more than just approving an expense. The board does play a role in the ceremony.
I think that's a great idea, and I think there are creative ways to do it. I mean, I like the idea of a parade. I'd rather not have people in cars. I'd love to have the kids in caps and gowns. And if we created a pathway from like Heath Avenue all the way up to the corner of like Moreno and Spalding, and had a path for students to go up in between Conheim and the swim gym, and then scoop around to like the football field, so that they could be given their diploma, not with a handshake, maybe with an elbow, but then an elbow, passing each board member, so we could socially distance at 6 feet apart. We've only got, how many did you say? 321 seniors. We can break that apart and make that happen.
So Tristan, you know what? I think that what I was trying to convey to Dr. Breggy is that the video situation is something that has been placed on the agenda. But clearly, if we're not able to convene, I mean, the priority of the board would be to have a normal graduation. That's one. Second is we would obviously, if it's the wish of the board to, bless this video today and give the green light, so that we have something as a keepsake, or worst case scenario, we have no graduation, we have no recourse, we have something to offer as a piece of memory for that encompasses this special day of graduation. But I think most importantly is I wanted to convey, and I wanted to see if there was agreement, consensus from the board, that if there was an opportunity, if the community at Beverly Hills High School, the parent community with Mr. Mead, really wanted to have this parade, and they figured out the details, that Dr. Breggy would, come back and share that piece of information. I'd like to be very supportive of that. I think that's a really fun way, a good way of really adding to the value of the day. And I'd like to support our PTA and our, the senior committee. I'm not sure what I know the 8th grade, we have an 8th grade committee. I'm not sure what the senior committee is, but I wanted Dr. Breggy. Dr. Breggy's, he's our go-in-between he represents the board. The board doesn't get to deal with these details. I would just encourage Dr. Breggy to be involved if there was an opportunity to be involved and to be supportive. And because we do have a role to play. Again, if they fly with this idea and our position is, well, we're not going to be involved because we already did this video, it'll look kind of silly, I think. Do you understand what I'm saying, Dr. Breggy?
Of course, but I also wanted to, I'm not trying to be a blocker at all to these ideas. I just heard about the idea over the weekend. So, again, it's not in place of this at all. So I think we can be creative.
Of course.
I'm so thankful for PTSA at the high school and just PTA. I mean, I'm excited about collaborating and being supportive of what can we do, in addition to at least knowing that we've taken care of our seniors in a way that we've never seen before. That's my biggest issue is being able. I want to give them more than what we would normally do because of these the current situation.
Can we talk about
Okay,
the middle school video?
We're going to go back to, I think we're talking about both right now, but we're going to go back to Noah, and then Tristan, we can circle back because I promised I would. So let's go to Thomas. I'm not going to skip you this time, Thomas. So the floor is yours, and then we'll go to Noah.
I don't really have any additional comments. I think I know that I saw in the chat, Mr. Margot said that there's going to be a postponed graduation. Then we will release the video on graduation day. I mean, if there's a postponed graduation, we will not release it until later. But if there's no graduation, then we will release it on graduation day. And I think that's a great idea, and that's the whole purpose of the video. So, I mean, that's all I have to say. So.
Okay, Ms.
Well, I mean, if we're still talking about the videos, I already said I'm supporting the videos. If you're looking for direction on anything else, Mrs. Hacker, I just want to be clear on what you might be looking for direction on.
I just wanted to give an opportunity for you to weigh in, everyone else, about the latter point that I made about, and that Dr. Breggy clarified, that if there was an opportunity to get behind some of this creative idea, if we weren't able to have a graduation, postpone it by any means, and we just had the video, and I think you all read the email that Dr. Breggy shared with us regarding the PTA, where there's an idea out there floating about a parade. I know that this is really they're at the elementary stages of getting an idea out there, but I think we, I don't know what role we would play. I'm not sure there would be any, but I think we should, at the very least, ask Dr. Breggy to be supportive and give him direction to pursue that as he wishes, because...
Okay, well, I did read that email, and I would like to say that, and so, by the way, if some of you can mute, there's a lot of feedback. I would like to say that anything that is not related to the board awarding diplomas is not a graduation. They're more than welcome to have a senior parade as an event, just like prom, just like senior sunset. If they categorize it as that's under their purview, and that's fine. The fact that they already contacted the police and city council members about this shows that they did not work with us or through us at all first, which is a little bit disappointing since, as Dr. Breggy said, the board is the one that awards the diplomas. So if you're going to do anything and call it a graduation, it should come through the district first, not through the outside entities. So I
agree with you, Noah. I totally agree with you in that point. And that's why I said it would look silly if we weren't part of that. In other words, I'll circle back, but I do understand your point. But I still think there's a way we can be involved if we have no graduation. Okay.
So to just wrap it up, and I don't need to say anything else by this. We are beholden to what the state and the county are doing right now. We can make all of these other plans, whatever plans they even think they can make, a parade of this or that, may not happen, okay? I will tell you that I am not in support at lining up hundreds of cars anywhere, idling, spewing fumes into the air. I think that sends a bad message. We have just spent the last 5 weeks cleaning up the environment. To go ahead and do something like that is foolish. Something on foot would be much more desirable if they wanted to do that. But in lieu of a graduation, once again, it's not a graduation, it's a senior event. And they're more than welcome to do that. That is under their purview. And if they want to have a senior event and can work it out, good for them. So, thank you.
Okay, Mel.
Yes, I just want to say this. First of all, I don't want to repeat everything that Noah has said because I'm in agreement with him, but let me just say this. We're talking about having some kind of a graduation for our graduating seniors, graduating students from each school. We owe it to them. They deserve it. I have to congratulate staff. What they've come up with here, I cannot imagine a decent alternative. And so I want to congratulate them for coming up with this. It's practical. The cost, let me talk to a few minutes about the cost. We're talking about a tiny percentage of 1% of our budget. It's peanuts. Look, if I have any kind of a reputation, it's for being a watchdog of the budget. Ever since I first got on the board a long time ago, we're talking about peanuts here. And to say, well, you know, if we spend this, then we shouldn't spend any money on a real graduation if it comes about, I don't agree with that at all. Not at all. So I just want to tell you that I am very much in favor of going ahead with these videos. I see no practical alternative. That's it.
Thank you, Mel. Tristan.
So I'm not sure if that was directed at me, but just to clarify, I never said that we shouldn't do both. I am concerned, though, about the cost because it doubles the cost that we had already planned for whatever graduation would look like. So just for the sake of clarity, I wasn't suggesting that we put the kibosh on one in favor of the other. I wonder if we can't bifurcate the two videos because, you know, our 8th graders, yes, they're graduating, they're going to be here. And, you know, one of the things that was in the survey was, could we celebrate it next summer or a little bit later in the summer? Our seniors are graduating and potentially leaving Beverly Hills outside of the district. In fact, legally, I think, I mean, one of my questions would be, once we pass the end of the school year, are they legally still students? And can we, you know, plan for things for them to do because they're no longer actually students in the district? Or is it after school begins in the fall that happens? But either way, I think it's more, I think there needs to be more of a priority placed on what do we do for our seniors because they're leaving and going off to college, many of them, and not in LA. For our 8th graders, we can certainly do something a little bit later in July or even into August, right before the beginning of school. So I think that we should probably try to separate the two and talk separately about graduation for seniors than we do the graduation video for the 8th graders. But again, I mean, I'm fine with creative ideas. I think that that's helpful. I agree that if we're going to call it a graduation and they're going to be getting diplomas, that is a school event. That is not an outside of school event. I think that shouldn't take place anywhere in this city. I think it should take place at one of the campuses. And if it's going to be called a graduation, then the Board of Education has to be involved. So, you know, I think historically the high school graduation has been a district event. It's been something that the staff plans and executes, not the PTSA. Well, I'm thrilled that they want to collaborate and they have ideas of things that we can work on. That was a district event and that staff plans and executes, which makes it dynamically different from the 8th grade graduation, which typically is planned by a committee of PTA parents. And funded through those PTA families. So I think the funding is different, the planning is different. We should probably talk about them in different ways because of that. But again, I'm fine with the video. I just think we need to pay attention to the budget. You know, historically we've gotten into trouble when we just keep saying, oh, it's a little bit here, it's a little bit there. And at the end of the year, we find ourselves in the red instead of in the black. And that's not a place I want to find ourselves. While it may be, you know, not as significant, $46,000 is almost the cost of a new teacher. So, you know, it's not insignificant, and I think it's worth being mindful of. That's all. So I'm supportive of the video. I'd rather do it for the high schoolers and, continue the conversation about middle school, and how else we can make it special, because I think we have a little bit more of a runway for the 8th graders versus the seniors.
Okay, thank you for that. Mrs. Marcus.
Hold on, I got to get off this call. 1 second. I can't talk right now. I'll call back later, please. Okay. All right. I don't even know which phone is ringing now. Okay, I have so much going on. I have only a couple thoughts that I'd like to add. Please forgive me. Well, first of all, I think the idea that we're going to be prepared when we go ahead with the video. I think that's a very wise thing to think about. I think we need to be prepared, and that's what I am speaking to. I know it's expensive and all that, and I think though, but if we don't, perhaps, and I know that I feel like we have to make some of the decision today, but I think I talked about contingencies, and this is one way to be prepared and for the contingency of what will happen. So for me to make a lot of statements about things and other choices and other things that can happen, that's in the future. I'm not looking at that right now because we aren't there with it. So right now, if you're asking me if I will vote for the videos, I will vote for the videos. And in that case, we will be prepared for the contingency that we may not, or we may have a postponed graduation. So I'm going to go with that thought, if that's okay with all of you. Thank you.
Okay. So I just want to say, Noah put up something. I think he had an idea, and I heard Tristan say this earlier, or maybe just now, about maybe treating the middle school a little different, and that the difference between the middle school population and the high school students is, of course, that the middle school population will still be here next year, and the high school students will not. So I guess the question is it necessary to approve the video for the middle school right now, being that they might have a better opportunity to capture, a ceremony somewhere near the future, not near like now in June or July, but maybe in August, near as school starts. And did you think of that, Dr. Brady? I'm sure you probably did.
Yes, we absolutely did think of that. I think what we're doing is kind of preparing for the worst case scenario, because even if our students had to wait, and we don't know what the fall is going to look like, and I'm not the sky is falling type of guy, but when I look to just how difficult this has been on our students, I just don't want any student to feel like they didn't receive that celebration and that recognition that they truly deserve. So I think that it's unique times call for unique thoughts and preparations. And I just think that, we were thinking of those things, but we wanted even the 8th graders to have something that resembled, their graduation as well. And so that's why we put this together. It's completely on a different scale, which is why it's so much less, but still has that personalized approach to it as well. So we did think of it, but we're also thinking that if that graduation date doesn't happen on the day that it's supposed to, then even a postponed graduation is going to be a different experience for our kids.
Okay, so I think that clarifies the discussion. Of course, we've only have a motion. No, I'm sorry, I can't recall. Did you modify you did modify your motion, correct? Noah?
I did. It includes both contracts right now.
You modified your motion to include B and C?
Yes, for the two contracts. My motion is
okay, good.
Both contracts.
Thank you. So Dr. Berge, in your last statement just that you made now, were you saying that this video would have to happen on June 4th? Is that what you were kind of
No,
alluding to?
I'm saying that, there was a thought, there was an idea, to have the, kind of the, have the unveiling date be on that date, but it doesn't have to be. The main thing for the administration
Is
that
to start going, right?
is to have, I mean, this is something forever. So if for some reason, graduation's postponed, then I agree. We wouldn't want to then show it on that date. So that was just an idea.
I'm sure we will get more information as we go forward, and you'll have more details about what that will look like as we get more clarity about from the state or from the CDC and the chancellor's. I mean the Department of Education.
Every day, we're in contact with them every single day.
Right. Okay, so let's call for the questions. What I'd like to do is we're going to take Beverly Vista separate, and we're going to vote for that, the Beverly Vista Middle School item B first, and we'll do a roll call because I have to take track of this. So let's see.
Then Mrs. Hacker, if that's the case, then I have to withdraw the motion and we'll remake the motion separately for the contracts.
Yeah, because people might want to vote separately, Noah. So I want to give them that opportunity. I don't want to assume. So thank you for that. Can, Mrs. Walker, would you agree? Go ahead, Mr. Marco, and then Mrs. Walker would have to.
I'll request to withdraw my motion.
I'll withdraw my second.
So then I'll make a new motion.
Did you want to reinstate? Please.
For the contract for the middle school.
I'll second.
Okay, so all those in favor, let's start. We're gonna do a roll call. Mr. Recupero?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes.
Mr. Spitz?
Yes.
Mr. Spitz, you have to unmute yourself.
He said yes.
Okay, I can't see him. Okay.
I vote yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Walker-Schuman?
Yes.
Mrs. Marcus? I can't see Marcus. Let's see here.
I didn't hear Ms. Schuman. I did not hear Ms. Schuman.
No, I said Mrs. Marcus.
No, I did not hear Kristen is what I'm saying.
I said yes.
Oh, then. I say yes also.
Okay. Mrs. Hacker will be a yes. So that passes. And now I need a motion for the next item, please.
I will move to support the video for the Beverly Hills High School digital graduation video.
I'll second.
Okay, Mrs. Marcus, thank you. Okay. Let's do roll call again. Mr. Recupero?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes.
Mr. Spitz?
Yes.
Mr. Spitz?
Yes.
He said yes.
Okay. Sorry, I'm having a delay, Mel. I can listen, I just can't see you sometimes.
Okay.
Okay, Mrs. Walker. Yes, I got that. Thank you. Mrs. Walker-Schuman?
Yes.
Mrs. Marcus?
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Hacker will be a yes as well. Okay, so thank you for your, is that, my agenda disappeared. Oh, wait, I was able to, I think we're done. Dr. Breggy, anything else?
No.
So thank you all for coming and for being part of today's discussion. I thought it was very healthy. And we're going to have our study session tomorrow. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. That's
Thank
it.
you, everybody.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.